Welcome to my channel. This is the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. My footsteps echo before I take a step. It was a cold winter's night. It's a kind of night where even the trees seem to shrink back into themselves. In this weather, I'm usually tucked up on the sofa with a good book and a hot drink. But tonight, my husband Mark had an early call at work, so it was just me and the kids in bed. I hate being alone in the dark. There's nothing worse than lying there listening to the house creak and groan. When you live in an old house like we do, your imagination can really run wild. Every time the wind changes direction, you think it might be the one that finally blows the roof off. And every time the floorboards creak, you're sure it's something much bigger trying to get in. The kids were staying in their room watching a movie. They didn't want to watch the new movie I'd recorded off the TV. They wanted to watch this stupid rubbish online, so I let them. And they offered for me to join them. Honestly, I don't know how these kids of today can watch this drivel and not go blind. Anyway, I told them I couldn't because I had to keep an eye out for Mark. He usually walked in the front door when he got home. But tonight, I could hear his key in the lock. That made me jump. It wasn't the sound of the key that made me jump. It was the footsteps I heard coming up the stairs before his key was even in the door. Slow, dragging footsteps. It's the kind of footsteps someone would make if they were carrying a large suitcase. I looked at the bedroom door. It was closed, but I could feel the vibrations through the wood of the floorboard beneath me. I poked my head around the door. Everything was fine. I listened. I heard the footsteps again, slow and dragging. I switched off the TV and went to the stairs to listen. Then I heard it again, the dragging footsteps right outside our door. I felt cold all over. What could it be? We don't have any family members who are due to come home yet, and no one knows we're home alone. Well, no one except the person outside our door. Who was that? I pulled the door open a fraction and peered out into the darkness. All I could see was our black hallway, stretching out into the darkness. I thought about closing the door and pretending that I hadn't heard anything. But then I remembered the footprints. Someone had definitely been up here. We don't get many visitors. It's easier to cut off all contact with people these days. Anyone who knows us would never dream of coming to the house unannounced, especially not in this weather. I shut my eyes. I was telling myself that it must have been a dream. Right. But I could still feel the vibrations of those footsteps echoing through the house. I needed to know who was up here. I took a deep breath. I needed to be brave. I needed to be a mother bear protecting her cubs. I told myself that whatever was up here, I would protect my children and nothing bad would happen to them. I opened the door a little wider. I gripped the door handle tightly in both hands. I knew whatever was out there was hiding from me. I've read enough crime novels to know that. Whatever it is, it's waiting to pounce. I slowly started to creep down the stairs. I told myself that if I ran, I'd be safer. So that's what I did. As soon as I was at the bottom of the stairs, I ran to the living room. I stood by the window and pulled back the curtains. Outside, it was pitch black. Nothing. I strained to listen. I couldn't hear anything. Then I heard it again, the dragging footsteps, but now they were coming downstairs. I pushed the curtain back into place and sank down onto the sofa. I knew whatever was making those footsteps was looking for me now. I tried to calm myself down. I kept telling myself it would pass, but it didn't. It came closer. And then I saw it. Something big and dark was standing in the hallway. I was frozen with fear. It took a step closer. I knew I had to do something. I took a deep breath. I needed to be brave. I needed to be a mother bear, protecting her cubs. I told myself that whatever was out there, I would protect my children and nothing bad would happen to them. It took another step towards me. I knew I had to do something. It took another step closer. I grabbed the poker from beside the fireplace and hid behind the sofa. I held the poker tightly. My knuckles had gone white. It came closer still. I peeked over the top of the sofa. Something big and dark was standing in the hallway. It took another step closer. I knew I had to do something. Then suddenly it spoke. I don't remember what it said exactly, but I do remember that its voice was raspy, like it hadn't spoken in a long time. It asked me for help. I don't know why, but at that moment, all my fear evaporated, and I felt nothing but sympathy. I was instantly filled with concern for this creature. Whatever it was, it looked like it hadn't hurt anyone. It was just asking for help. I put the poker down. I got up and went to the door. I opened the door and I asked it, "Can I help you?" It didn't answer. Instead, it shuffled closer. I could see it was thin and pale. Its eyes were wide and pleading. It was reeking of stale waste and decay. It was clearly unwell. I felt sorry for it. I should have called animal control or the police, but instead I invited it inside. It shuffled in. I closed the door behind it. It looked around the room, its eyes wide with wonder. I felt a sense of dread mixed with pity. It looked so weak. I went to the stairs and asked it, "How did you get here?" It made a gurgling sound and clutched at its stomach. I thought it must be in pain. I didn't want it to suffer anymore. I went to the kitchen and filled a bowl with water and some food. I carried it over to the creature. It didn't touch it. I don't know how long I sat there watching it. It was shuffling around the room, making strange noises. I felt so sorry for it, but I was also scared. I knew it shouldn't be here. I knew I should call the authorities, but I didn't. I watched it collapse onto the floor. It lay there in front of me, whimpering. I was crying. I don't know why. I stayed with it until it stopped moving. I waited for it to die. Then I did the bravest thing I've ever done. I called the police. When they arrived, they were shocked to see what I'd found. They took the body away. I never found out what it was, but sometimes when I'm lying in bed at night, I hear the dragging footsteps coming up the stairs.